Tonight we'll chant the Noble Eightfold Path, page 91, and there's a dedication or two. I have to check, just a moment. A dedication for Daniel.
Evil unwholesome states, Chanting Books, effort, arouses energy, exerts its mind and strives for the arising of unarisen, wholesome states. Chandang Janeti Vayamati Viryam Arapati Chitam Paganhati Pradahati Kusalanam Dhammanam Titiya Asamosaya Iyo Bhavaya Vepuraya Bhavanaya Paripurya. Here we conceal for the continuance, non-disappearance, strength, Vayamati Viryam Arapati Chitam Paganhati Padahati. Equals for Kave Samma Vayamo. This because it's called right effort. Katamacha Kave Samma Sati. And what because is right mindfulness. Contemplating the body as a body, Atapi Sampajano Satima, ardent, fully aware and mindful, Vinaya Loke Adicca Dhamma. Anupasi Viharati, he abides contemplating feelings as feelings, Atapi Son, having put away covetousness and grief for the world, Chitte Chittanupasi Viharati, he abides contemplating mind as mind. Vinaya Loke Adicca Dhammanasam, having put away covetousness and grief for the world, Dhamme Sudhammanupasi Viharati, he abides contemplating fully aware and mindful, Vinaya Loke Adicca Dhammanasam, having put away covetousness and grief for the world, Ayam Uchati Bhikkhave Samadhi. And what bhikkhus is right concentration. Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu, here bhikkhus a bhikkhu, virite vakamehi, why secluded from sensual. Savitakam savicharam vivekajam vitisukam patamam janam ubasam aja viharati, enters upon and abides in the first jhana, accompanied by Asama, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, Ajatam Sampasadanam Chetaso Eko Dibhava Upasam Aja Viharati, he enters upon and abides in the second jhana, with rapture and pleasure born of concentration, Itya Chaviraga, with the fading away as well of rapture, mindful and fully aware, Sukham Shakha Chitanti Upekako Satima Sukha Viharati Tatiyam Charanam Upasa. The noble ones announce he has a pleasant abiding, with equanimity and is mindful, Sukha Sajabhana, Deva Somana Sadomana Sana Patangama, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, Adukam
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammam Sangham Namasami. So, everybody can hear me okay? Thumbs up? All right, great. So it's Friday night on our retreat here, and seems like things are going really well from our end, and hope everybody out there is doing good too. We had a great evening with Ajahn last night, and I was and full on, and was able to keep going for quite a long time, about an hour or so, I think, and it was just a delight to partake in that energy and remember his time here at Abhayagiri and all the Thanksgiving retreats that he led. I was doing the Thanksgiving retreats, and I went a couple of times as a layman before Abhayagiri ever opened. So have lots of fond memories, and last night was a refresher of those, and as well as being delightful in and of itself. So sadhu anumodana Ajahn for being here for us on that night. So this morning, Ajahn Pasno Lungpa gave a very nice teaching regarding continuing with the Satipatthana and the fourth foundation of mindfulness of the five khandhas, the five aggregates affected by clinging, and talking a lot about the different kinds of upadana, clinging, different descriptions of the khandhas, similes that the Buddha uses, and contemplating them within the consideration of the three characteristics: anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence or inconstancy, suffering, or how. That's just a major contemplation that we should all take on as a regular practice, a regular meditation practice. It's really at the crux of the path to freedom, and how deep understanding, deep insight into that process of I-making and mind-making is deep understanding kind of bald-faced reality of and relinquishment that follows that disenchantment. This is the path to freedom. It's not in becoming anything special or having all sorts of high consciousness of stability and pleasure-seeking in all sorts of ways, including very refined ways, including high meditative states, checking those out. finding to the point where we want to turn away from that and see something deeper. It's not taking us exactly where we want to go, and so the impetus, the inspiration for seeking something beyond this experience of me trying to be happy, me trying to be sad. Transcend. This is a transcendent kind of practice that we're engaging in. It's a transcendent goal. Yeah, Luang Por was going through, kind of using one of the suttas as the base, the discussion between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahakotita as the launching pad for his discussion on the five, examining the five khandhas is found in a bunch of different places in the teachings. And of the five khandhas: form, feeling, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, and in consideration of each of those in turn, regarding them according to a certain set of characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta. And he said, there were some other epithets that were used, how to hold the five khandhas. And I just thought I'd see if I could remember a few more of those, because khandhas, in turn, like viewing form, scriptures, some of which I'll remember, some of which are duplicates, but impermanence, suffering, a dart, a tumor, an affliction, an illness, misery, very strong word, empty and not self, experiencing and examining the khandha of feeling or perception, mental formations, consciousness, see them all in that light of impermanence, not self. These are very powerful words, adding to the list of words to contemplate in your vocabulary, and give rise to, these are all about, then, gee, what am I doing laying my, taking my refuge in them? And this is, of course, what Luang Por was talking about this morning, in the sense of disenchantment with where I've So there's lots of different ways that we can start to view the five khandhas, to reflect on them, and to really to these five khandhas. It comes in different forms. The form of I am mine, ownership. This is my body. There is somebody here who owns this body, or who possesses these feelings, but there's a subtle view of somebody who's here who possesses them, owns them, should have some real and in control. And there's various other ways that the self-perception manifests, but those are the two main ones in my experience. So to really pick that apart and look at that and question that, get clear enough and steady enough and contented enough, peaceful enough to be able to just hold a contemplation like this and of mind that isn't just kind of all over the place. To be able to do this kind of contemplation deeply. I mean, it doesn't mean we can't think about it a little bit or at various periods of time. Here and settled and 100% still to engage. In fact, engaging in some of these kinds of contemplations can do just that, can help settle the mind even more. So they play back and forth. So we talked about samatha and vipassana being on two ends of the same stick. But one of the ways that I enjoy spending some contemplative time with is around just to really question our assumptions, question our very firmly entrenched and held ways of view as a goal to really make this your Dhamma lens, make this your exploration. Whenever you're experiencing anything. I was thinking about this was last June or so, May, June, so I was starting my transition away from being cohabit with trying not to be anything in particular. And he put together a book of recollections from it's really enjoyable, and via my sister was one of me when I was, I don't know, I must have been somewhere between. For some reason, I'd never seen it before. My mother was holding me in her right, and somebody else, a young neighbor friend, was in the photo, and I had kind of this slightly. When I look at that and I think about that, and it's in some ways it was touching. In other ways it was like, this me is so different from that me. So looking at photos from the past, considering who we were, quote unquote, in the past. There was another photo in there from before I ordained. It was a photo of the Sangapala of Ajahn Amaro's trips to the U.S., where he had stayed for a few months, and Seattle, where I was living, to join in. I was kind of Sangapala North, if you will, and came down just to see everybody, and as was Debbie in the photograph, and Ajahn Amaro as well. And I was looking at that photograph and thinking, well, Ajahn Amaro looks pretty much the same. He's just, he's aged some and put on a brown hair and a beard and wearing all sorts of, trousers and jackets and shirts and all that kind of stuff. And now it's instead of brown, and clearly not in my late 30s anymore. And thinking, wow, there I was at 2 years old, then in my late 30s, and now in my mid 60s. Body cells pretty much change out more or less every 7 years, some much faster than that, some almost on a daily. Clearly not the same being that we were years ago. So where did that me go? Gone. Gone. All the cells that were me, that made up me in this body 7 years ago have died. Lots of similar ones, but slightly changed, aged, morphed. And there's just this illusion of continuity that carries through. Same, of course, is true for all of our feelings and our memories. So, these are all just creations in our mind. Somebody similar to me here now, sitting here more or less in the same position answering questions yesterday. Well, where did he go? That's just a memory. The same is true for all of you, you know. Just realizing that this continuity of self is a manufactured illusion to help keep some sort of semblance of perceptual reality in our lives, but it's a construct. It's an assumed reality. You know, when it's so easy, it's so tempting to hang on to memories and make them into present realities. And a lot of those memories are painful or difficult or whatever, and hanging on to them is just more and more dukkha. So it's such a relief to be able to say, oh, that was then. That's just a memory that's gone. And then here I am now, right here, just as it is. The future is just a guess, it's a projection. There really isn't anything happening other than what's happening. So that's one way we can start to get a little bit of a handle on this sense of self, this perception of self, this assumption of self. That's all it really is. Lots of other ways to kind of view it too. Of course, looking through the lens of change. And I think that was part of a question maybe earlier today, something around the issues of control and what do we have control over and what we don't have control over. My understanding anyway, my experience is that there's a modicum of control that there is in the sense that intentions will come up. An intention arises based on some sort of cause and condition, some sort of contact with the world, some sort of perceptual experience or a feeling arises from past actions as a result of past actions, and then something registers in us that to do something, to act or speak. But just considering often is filled with this notion of me or mine, and that it gives this sense of taking action as being in some form of control. And so we can do that. We have the ability to do that to some limited extent, so that we can, say, form the intention to I do what I want to do with it when I want to do it. And that goes only so far, though, because there's, if you reflect on it, this body follows nature, a course of nature too, that a number of things we don't have any control over whatsoever. But it doesn't pay any attention to that whatsoever. It's just an intention that falls flat. No control on that issue. Old age, sickness, death, these are inevitable if we live a typical human life. Or the exercise we get. But it's all on this, basically the same, we're all on the same conveyor belt, really. We're just on different places on the conveyor belt. And it's moving only in one direction. So investigating the sense of control of it. You can kind of get, in quiet moments too, can really do some investigation of the body and the experience in the here and now, and in the realm of controllability. You can just the presence, what we're calling, what again Ajahn Sucitto refers to as the somatic presence. Just tune into that presence of the body here in your meditation room. Sensations and feelings and sensitivity. Another is for this somatic presence of intelligence, sensitivity. This body is one of intelligent sensitivity. In the best way it can, regardless of what we do, of what we intend. So you can notice that when you're sitting still. You notice these, what are the body experiences, autonomic nervous system, that controls the breathing, heartbeat, digestion. These things just keep on functioning regardless of our input, our wishes. How much control you have. You can command yourself to hold your breath and not breathe. And how long does that last? Sometimes it's fun to just try it. And then after 10 seconds or 20 seconds or a little bit longer, if you can really hold your breath, all of a sudden the body just do. Or you can feel the heartbeat. Maybe speed it up a little bit through mental activity or slow it down a little bit sometimes. But every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, for how many ever years you live. It's got an intelligence of its own in a way, whether you're paying attention to it or not. So just feel these functions. Feel the slight muscle movement. Or maybe some very small way. You're not willing that to happen. The body's just doing it. swallowing saliva. The presence of the body and its movements, its energies, its elements. Well, really, no one is. It's the pleasant ones that come, the fade away, the unpleasant ones that come and then fade away, as Lupa offered that simile from the Buddha of the bubbles bursting in the water puddle from the rain. Memories and perceptions. Go that you were all wrapped up in yesterday or the day before. That string of stories and thoughts. Have control over those. Is there someone who has control over those? Or is it just the defilements producing them? The greed or the anger or the irritation? Thoughts and feelings. It's not anybody in there that's doing it. Also the good stuff. By putting attention on thoughts and feelings. Emotions also. And the way the consciousness aggregate weaves together its story of our world by jumping from one sense base to another. And so these are ways of just using the quiet contemplative and to see how it's all just really, an assumed reality, a constructed reality that seems very, very, very real when we're engrossed. Take time to look at it and see it just for what it is, see all these activities just for what they are, then this kind of sense of fascination, even if it's a craving for fleeting wants, trying to find expression through the five khandhas. And then using it for strategic questioning of who we are. There's Gita, that particular way of talking about how to regard the khandhas appears in different places as well, not just in their conversation, but in some direct teachings from the Buddha. And there's one where that same sequence. He just is, he's actually talking about it in the context of jhanas, which is kind of interesting because the way it starts is like, here a bhikkhu enters into and abides in the first jhana and then goes into the second, third, fourth, and actually up through most of the immaterial attainments. And as he or she, monastic, is dwelling in this first jhana, etc., in relation to form, feeling, perception, mental formations, or consciousness, during this meditation, they regard any phenomena that arise in regard to the five misery, disintegration, alien, empty, not self. And it's interesting that this appears actually in the think of really is jhana, but that's another story. Anyway, one regards these phenomena that intrude into this peaceful space as, and instead directs one's mind to the deathless element. And it's a really lovely sutta because then it actually, sometimes when you hear that phrase, direct your mind, or how does one do that? If one hasn't experienced the deathless element directly, how does one know how to direct one's attention to it? But then this sutta goes further and says, this is sublime. The stilling of all formations, the relinquishment of all acquisitions. Which is a series of phrases. This is the description of how one contemplates the deathless element. By those descriptions, that's one of the ways one turns one's mind to that. Of course, if one directs one's mind directly to the direct experience, that's the best. But you can also use it as a perceptual training to imagine. Contemplating the perception of the peace of Nibbana. And seeing the khandhas in the way that they can be viewed, and one just isn't enthralled with that anymore, isn't enthralled with what the khandhas have to offer. And one can incline towards reflecting on real deep peace, the deep peace of Nibbana. Peaceful, this is sublime. The stilling of all formation. Karmic process just comes to a standstill. We're not creating any new karmas, volitional formations based on intention and volition. Take a pause. Volitions based on greed, hatred, and delusion. Stop. Not Uddapadi, Upadi. Upadi. As regarded in relation to self as mine, we cling to the five khandhas with a sense of ownership or identification. These are the relinquish those. No need to hold on to them any longer. No need to keep that construct going. No need to cling. That momentum to get something from the sensual world, sensory world, the momentum to be something, become something, be somebody, have an identity, to exist. And the craving, independent of, or not even be independent, just to not experience out of a sense of aversion. So the destruction of craving, that all ends. That momentum, that mental force that pushes, gone. Destruction of craving. Dispassion. One loses that passion for anything related to the way, but that dispassion for that which no longer fulfills. Nirodha, the cessation of cessation. So this is where the contemplations can take us. And like I said, it's, if we're not at that point yet of the teachings of the Buddha are so powerful. The words that he found to describe and teach us are just the way he was able to find words to describe the process, the teaching, the experiences. It's just pretty incredible. So these are just some thoughts. Attendance to the theme of contemplation of the body, the Satipatthanas, and just sort of a few thoughts as to things that can bring insight on our path to freedom. So I'll leave that for tonight's reflection.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Page 33.
Verses of sharing and aspiration through the goodness that arises from my practice. May my spiritual teachers, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest earth and the Lord of death receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss, and through this act of sharing of mind, I have an upright mind, unsurpassed. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the Lord to the Buddha